I'm going to say this before I answer your question. I did hear your question. I'm going to answer it. And if you know me, you know I'm probably going to go in 3 different directions and get off topic, but I'll come back around, I promise. One thing I think it's important before I answer that is that nights like tonight, to me, this is like, I talked a lot to my athletes about things like the importance of proper nutrition, healthy food, hydration to feed your body, the training that you do to fortify your body. But nights like tonight, this is like fuel for your mind. This is soul food, like fuel for your spirit. And I feel like just being able to sit and listen to Chris and listen to Orlando, listen to JP, listen to Ricky, I mean, listen to Paul, listen to Milind, like I don't know. The only bad thing is you have these things at 7:30 at night. I'm ready to like take on the world. I think you gotta switch these to like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm ready to take on the world. But I will say this, listen to in the message of all the people that you've heard tonight, one kind of commonality or one thread that sort of runs through everybody for me is that all of these guys had this sort of plan. They had this plan for their life, the way it was going to work. And for the most part, it was kind of life was going according to plan. Like Orlando was on pace to be a star athlete. Chris was on pace to be a star athlete. Ricky and JP, everything was great in their life, but everybody, whether it's JP talking about, hey, you know what, when you look from the outside, he looks like he's living the perfect life. And he mentioned already himself, he battled anxiety. Ricky had ups and downs and struggled with his health. Orlando, you've heard the story. Chris, you've heard the story. But the one thing is that all of these guys were able to find a way through that adversity to take that adversity, use it as fuel, and somehow redirect themselves. And the one thing that's interesting is that all of these guys, you listen to Ricky just now saying, hey, you know what? Things didn't work out exactly the way I hoped or thought they should, but because I ended up in Toronto, I met my wife. And Ricky happens to be a good friend of mine, and his wife, I know very well. They're both incredible people. He's an incredible father, great husband, great guy. And, had he not been here in Toronto and had they went, maybe they didn't meet. Maybe his life wouldn't have worked out that way. And I know that I can tell you Orlando's been a friend of mine for more than 20 years. That makes me feel really old. But I knew the second I met this guy, he was destined for greatness. But you know what? Maybe, he's so brilliant. Maybe he could have just taken off in his IT job and been super successful at that and been a great IT guy in Chicago, which I guess is good. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. But think of how many people he wouldn't have helped. And you know what? This guy was an unbelievable football player. And had this not happened, you know what? Maybe he would have grinded out another 5 years in the league. And then maybe he would have done great things, but not to the extent that he did. And Chris, what he's saying, had Chris played, a few years of pro in the NHL, maybe he wouldn't become a firefighter, which if nothing else happened to Chris and his story was, my name is Chris and I'm a firefighter. That's cool enough. To me, you're already a hero, right? But because of this horrible thing that happened, he's inspiring so many people and helping so many people, and maybe he wouldn't have done that, So I think that sometimes, unfortunately, I don't want to say be careful what you wish for, because that's not what I mean. But what I mean is that sometimes the plan doesn't work out exactly the way you think it's supposed to, or the way that you think it should, and it doesn't seem fair and it doesn't seem right. And I can tell you, Orlando is I'm not just saying this because he's on the call, because I say it behind his back all the time. He might be the best person I've met in my life. He's certainly one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life. Chris, I'm going to tell you one story about Chris, and I've never said this to Chris before, but the first time I met Chris, I knew that this guy was coming. He was going to come by the gym. He was coming with Ryan, this other athlete. I knew that he was Ryan. Ryan was one of the survivors of that horrible Humboldt Broncos bus crash. I knew that Chris was his trainer. Okay, Chris is a trainer. Cool. Chris came into my gym, shook his hand. We talked for 5-10 minutes. He hung out. He was there for about an hour. It was Chris before I knew he was an amputee. I had no idea, honestly, no clue. The way that he carries himself, just physically the way he carries himself. And the guy's he's built like a brick shit house. It's obvious this guy could have been a serious athlete, but it's not that. It's his demeanor, his composure, the way that he carries himself. And I can tell you, in the time that I've known him, it's never about Chris. Never. It's always about, he's always looking for ways to help everybody else. You know, we're having a conversation one time about his athlete Ryan and about the problems he's having sleeping because of the intense pain that Ryan is in. He can't sleep through the night. And we're talking about it, and Chris said, you know, was explaining to me how it's kind of normal because after surgeries like that, and I never sleep actually because, you know, so back to Ryan. So when he's sleeping, we're like, and it was just sort of like, this guy is so selfless and so passionate about helping other people. And I think that thread runs through everybody that's spoken tonight. And I can tell you, like, you know, when I'm talking about Ricky and J.P., and they're not on the call anymore, so they won't hear if I say this or not. But if you know anything about pro sports, don't talk to the GM, and Nancy knows. Who cares about the president? Who cares about the GM? Probably don't even need to talk to the coach. If you want to find out what kind of guy you're dealing with, you talk to the training staff. They'll tell you. Talk to the equipment guy, talk to the trainers. They'll tell you if he's a good guy or not. Everybody that deals with those two guys will tell you that they are the best guys. You know, they're the greatest guys. And the fact that they're here tonight, those guys don't need to be here. 6th overall pick, 21st overall pick, MLB, like Ricky's an MLB all-star living in Hermosa Beach, California. He doesn't need to come and do this right now. They do it because they're incredible guys. So I hope you see that thread running through everybody that was speaking tonight. And those are big takeaways for me. And I think that, you know, if anything else, I really don't know what to say. It's that, you know, I know for me in my life, my story pales in comparison to everybody that's spoken to. Every great thing that's happened in my life came right on the tail end of something that at the time I perceived as being a huge negative and a loss. You know, I didn't want to be Orlando's coach. I wanted to play against Orlando. I was a football player. And you know what? I trained as hard as Chris. I trained as hard as Orlando. I don't know how JP trains, but I bet you I trained harder than those guys. Like, I wanted it just as bad as everybody else, but I didn't make it. No, if I would have made the Hamilton Tiger-Cats team in 1998, maybe I wouldn't meet Orlando. Maybe I would not have become a coach. You know, and I would have been fine whatever I'd done. If I was a high school teacher, I would have been good at that and I would have enjoyed it. It would have been nice, but I feel like I'm really living my best life. I've actually found my calling in life, but that was not what I wanted to do. You know, it was only because I failed at something else that I ended up down that road. And, you know, I worked for the Toronto Maple Leafs for a long time, my job there, but if I had not got fired from my job, I probably would not have started BioSteel. I probably wouldn't have started my private gym that I run now. You know, and if it wasn't for COVID-19, which is awful for a billion different reasons, I wouldn't be on this call right now, and I wouldn't have met all of you. And there's some really cool people that I've met. I mean, Paul, it's an absolute honor. And it's funny, Nancy, you said that. I knew the second I met Paul, like, this guy's got some chirps. And I know, like, you know what it was actually? I want to get Paul, you have the greatest shirt. And if you do nothing else for me in return for anything, like, I'm a lat guy living in an ab guy world. That's my favorite shirt. Honest to God, I love that. And so when I saw, as soon as I saw his t-shirt, I knew Paul's my guy. Like, this is my kind of guy. So, and if not for this situation, I wouldn't have met all of you, and I wouldn't have met Milind. And you know, so I think that circling back around, okay, I'm learning in life right now. I don't know. I'm a business owner. I've got a gym that's shut down right now. That sucks. But I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to work out. But you know, I believe it will. I don't know how. I don't know when. But I have faith that it will. Want it to. It may not look like it may not be part of the plan that I've crafted in my mind. But I know it's going to be okay. And I think for everybody else, I'm going to shut up in a second, but for everybody else on this call, I hope that you understand the value of the community that you're in right now. And all of this, I think we need, if you're on mute, that's okay. But, you know, in the true pro sports fashion, I want to give a couple of snaps up for Nancy right now. Nancy Spotton for putting this together. Okay. Because Nancy, you're worse than I am. I don't like talking about myself. You're worse than I am. All this stuff is put together by Nancy, and all she does is pump everybody else up and help everybody and fire them up. And she makes everybody feel like a rock star. And I hope everyone it's the importance of tying yourself into a community like this, especially right now. The world has changed. The world has gone upside down. No one knows exactly, you know what? You look at all the so-called experts in the world, they don't know. The politicians, they don't know. Nobody knows. So the only thing you can do, as a little guy, is to surround yourself with people that are on this call, positive people. People like Orlando and Chris, listen to those guys, draw the energy from them, take advantage of that. That's the only chance you got to be successful moving forward.